blows, and every Friday of Sukkot we'll always have 48 blows. And the Gemara question: if the first day of Sukkot comes out on a Friday, you will not have those extra. You won't have 48. You won't have. You'll be missing 12. Right. Right. So you will have 36 instead of 30, because every day has you said every day starts off at 21, right? And then you have another 9 because of the musaf of Yom Tov of Sukkot, so that would make it 30. Then you have another 6 because of Friday, but you will not get the extra 12 in honor of the drawing of the water. So that's what the Gemara said, and the Gemara said, but it never happened that way. It never happened that it came out that the Friday of Sukkot was the first day of Sukkot. Then the Gemara questioned that, right? That's what we had. That's what we got up to yesterday. We had a discussion in we found a couple of cases, like Nathan said, that we do find that Yom Kippur could come out following the Shabbat. That was our discussion yesterday. So let's go back to that point. We welcome Ralph. Good morning, Ralph. Vatnan, we're on 54b. 54b, where it says Vatnan. Or it's really a piece of Midachinale. That second paragraph from the top. You said that you push off Yom Kippur, right? We said that you push off Yom Kippur, that shouldn't come out on Shabbat. Sorry, Yom Kippur should not come out on a Sunday. So the Gemara questions that. Do we actually push it off? Vatnan, we learned in the Mishnah. Hello, Ralph, good to see your face. Vatnan, we learned in the Mishnah. Chelvei Shabbat. The fats of the korbanot that you process, you sprinkle the blood on the mizbeach on the Shabbat, and you did not bring it on the mizbeach. You didn't bring the fats on the mizbeach yet. Krivim ben Yom Kippur, Yom Kippurim. They're brought on Yom Kippur. Now that's what the Mishnah says. So we see that the fact that you say that you could bring it on Yom Kippur, so we see that right, exactly. Now, what is the interesting issue over there? The issue over there by the fats is that the opinion of Rabbi Yishmael. Rabbi Yishmael holds that the holiness of Shabbat is holier than the holiness of Yom Kippur. And because the holiness of Shabbat, so we're gonna, very good. We're going to get that. We're getting to right today, exactly. But and therefore, since it's holier, so therefore it's appropriate that you could take the chalavim of Shabbat, and it will allow you to use Yom Kippur to burn the fats of Shabbat. However, because Shabbat is so chamor, Shabbat is holier, will allow you to go ahead and use the Yom Kippur to service the Shabbat. But the fats of Yom Kippur are not going to be able to be brought on Shabbat. That means if Yom Kippur would come out on a Friday, and then you have leftover fats from Yom Kippur, so Rabbi Shmuel says you cannot use those fats, you cannot burn those fats on the Mizbeach on Shabbat. They're totally cut out by using 24 hours. We have to look at that Gemara. It's a very good question. Now, however, Rabbi Akiva holds that the holiness of both days are equal. And therefore, you cannot bring the Chelvei Shabbat cannot be brought on Yom Kippur, and the fats of Yom Kippur cannot be brought on Shabbat. That's just the discussion of the over there. Gemara is just bringing the case just to show us this phenomenon that Yom Kippur could fall out on a Sunday. And we had the Mishnah, which the Gemara is now quoting the opinion of Rabbi Yishmael of the Mishnah, who states that the fats of Shabbat are brought on Yom Kippur. Okay, that's the opinion of Rabbi Yishmael, who does not equate the holiness of Shabbat and Yom Kippur. It's not the same. Shabbat is holier, he says. Therefore, you could bring the fats on Yom Kippur on the following day. Now, so that's point number one. Question number two is Amar Rabbi Zera. Rabbi Zera said, Ki havinon be'Rav Bavel. When I learned Torah by Rav, the great Rav was there was Rav and Shmuel, the two great rabbis from that period time in Bavel. When I was learning by Rav in Bavel, Rav was so great that they give him like a status like Rav Tanahu Pali, like it's like the status of a Tana, even though it's like a little bit later. He has the ability to argue on Tanoim. So when I was by Rav in Bavel, Amri, I thought I was of the opinion Chodetanya, that which we learned in the Braita regarding the six blows of the trumpets that were blown on Erev Shabbat. But if it was Yom Kippurim shechal liot Erev Shabbat, if Yom Kippur fell out on Erev Shabbat, Yom Kippur fell out on a what? On a Friday. Lo tokim. They did not blow the trumpets on the Friday, because what's the point of the trumpets? To separate the people from work, to separate from holiness, from Mavdil, bring holiness to weekday to holiness. Then you should blow, at least right. So he says because Yom Kippur is forbidden to do malacha also, so there's no need for these blows. At least the first three, and now, and Yom Kippur that comes out on Motzei Shabbat. I thought that if Yom Kippur comes out on a Saturday night, Lohoya Mavdilin, they did not make Havdalah on a cup of wine. Now you can't eat if Yom Kippur comes out on Motzei Shabbat. You can't drink, but maybe you could make Havdalah and give it to a kid to drink, right? I thought that they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't do the Havdalah on Saturday night on Yom Kippur, wine on a cup of wine, because what is Havdalah about? Hamavdia, because to say just like on Yom Tov comes out on a Saturday night. What do we do on Yom Tov on Saturday night? We make Havdalah. It just says we conclude the Havdalah. Baruch atah Hashem, Mavdom Kodesh Kodesh. So, because we separate between this holiness of Shabbat and the holiness of Yom Tov, which is a less of holiness, because so the only time we make Havdalah, I would have said, is when the day when if the day that's leaving, if it's Shabbat, and you're going into from one level of holiness to a lower level, that's when you make Havdalah. Like we said, that Yom Tov, there are more things. The holiness of Yom Tov is not the same level as Shabbat because there's more allowances on Yom Tov than on Shabbat. But when you're going from Shabbat to Yom Kippur, where regarding all the Issa Malacha, all the prohibitions of work that were forbidden on Shabbat, are forbidden on Yom Kippur. There is a Mishnah that says, Ein bein Yom Kippur and Shabbat. It's the only difference in Yom Kippur and Shabbat is Zeh Chayiv Stila, Zeh Chayiv Karet. This was Chayiv Stila. The person violates the Shabbat and he's warned with witnesses. The court could kill him. But if a guy goes ahead and intentionally violates Yom Kippur with witnesses, and the court does not allow to kill him. They don't have the power to kill him. That's not the punishment. But regarding all the other laws, they're the same. So I thought that being that they're the same, I thought that this Breita that says that you don't make Havdalah on Saturday night Yom Kippur is universal. It's Divrei HaKoli. I thought it's unanimous opinion. Everybody agrees with that point. However, Kisalikit Lahatam, when I went from Bavel to the Holy Land, which we mentioned yesterday, there was America, Israel, the great yeshivot here and the great yeshivot in Israel. That was what happened in Bavel and Eretz Yisrael. When I went to Eretz Yisrael, I found one of the great rabbis, Rabbi Yehuda, the son of Shimon Pasi, the Ativik. He was sitting and he was saying, and he said, and he made a statement regarding this Breita, and he said that this Breita is Rabbi Akivahi. This is not a universal opinion. This is only Rabbi Akiva, who holds that the holiness of Shabbat and Yom Kippur are the same. However, Rabbi Yishmael, who held that you bring the fats of Shabbat that were not born on Shabbat, you bring it on Yom Kippur, because Yom Kippur is not the same level of Shabbat. He holds it's a different level of holiness. It's not as holy. So he would hold that you will say Havdalah on Yom Kippur following Shabbat. Maybe you're saying a good point, Nathan. Nathan is saying we do see that Shabbat is holier and more strict, more chamur. And it should show the kedusha, the fact that the punishment is stricter. So the question is, do you look at the punishment? Do you focus on the melacha? So that's where they're looking at. We have to see that sugya over there. So at the end of the day, we see that this Breita clearly says that you could. It says you could go ahead, and Yom Kippur could come out on Saturday night. If Yom Kippur come out on a Sunday, really, it's a Mishnah. It's a Mishnah that says this. So, how are we saying? We just said before that it will not come out on a Sunday. We said Yom Kippur, the rabbis would ensure that Yom Kippur won't come out on a Sunday. The Gemara says, and here we say it will come out on a Sunday. So how could you explain our mission that it won't come out on a Sunday? So the Gemara says, I want to tell you, look, Hashem, it's not a question, because there are different Tanoim. This is actually a machloket. This is actually a dispute on whether the rabbis will go ahead and move the calendar around in such a way to ensure that Yom Kippur will not come out on a Sunday. So our Mishnah follows that opinion, that they would push it off, and therefore Yom Kippur will never come out on a Sunday. Yom Kippur never comes out on a Sunday, so the first day of Sukkah will never be on a Friday. So you'll always ensure you got 48 blasts of the trumpets on Friday of Sukkot. However, the other Mishnah, the other stuff that we showed, they hold that you do not move the calendar around. So therefore, our Mishnah is going like that, opinion that you do move the calendar around. And where do we find that this is actual argument among Tanaim? Meaning, how do you know? Maybe there's no argument on this. I mean, so far we only found one Mishnah that says Yom Kippur comes out on a Saturday night, on a Sunday. So how do you know that there's an opinion that says it will not come out? So the Gemara says, I have the following Mishnah. The Gemara says, or we have a Breita. Look, Hashem, ha Rabbanan, ha Achi Rabbi. The opinion of our Mishnah follows the opinion of the Rabbanan. And according to them, Bezin would move the calendar. And the Mishnah and the Breita that we brought from Rav Zera that says it could come out on Sunday is Achirim. It's a different Achirim. It's a different opinion. So the Gemara says the Tanya, because we learned in the Breita. So here goes the source of that argument. The Tanya. Achirim omrim ein bein atzeret la'atzeret. There's no between one Shavuot and the next Shavuot, the Ein Bein Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah, if you go from one, we know what is the Jewish calendar. We say it's a 354-day calendar, right? 354-day calendar. If you do 50 weeks times 7 days is 350, then you have another 4 days. So that would be whatever came out on Sunday would come out, next year will be 4 days later, will be on a Thursday, right? That if the holiday came out this year on Sunday, the next year should come out on a Thursday, 4 days later. And the imhaita, except for imhaita shana muberet, who was a leap year, then it's 5 days. Because a leap year, this opinion holds, that a leap year, every time the leap year would be in 29-day month. The 29-day month is 4 weeks, but you got 29, made it an extra day. So that'll make a 5-day difference between the day, whatever would come out this year, 5 days later the next year, if it's a leap year. That's the opinion of Achirim. So the Gemara says, but our Mishnah goes that we hold that we would move things around. We would extend. It's not always this amount of days between Shavuot and the next Shavuot. Sometimes, if necessary, we will move the calendar around. So Rashi says, I'll read the Rashi. Rashi says, "Im zeh be'echa b'Shabbat, if this year it's on Sunday, the next year, 4 days later, will be on Thursday, and that will be the Seder according to the Mula Alavana." And Rashi goes into the whole story. Okay, so now the Gemara goes back on Rav Acha bar Chanina. Rav Acha bar Chanina said that when every Musaf, he says every Musaf gets its blows of the trumpets. Every Musaf gets nine sounds of the trumpets. That's how we explain on Shabbat why you got 30 on a regular Shabbat, because you got 29 every day. And why do you get 29 every day? Because we said because the 21, because the Korban Olah in the morning, Korban Olah in the afternoon, each Korban Olah got 9, and then we had 3 for the opening of the gates. But he says that at Musaf, we got an extra 9. That we know. But his chidush is, if you have a day that's a double header, you get a double blowing. And that means the Levium, that Ralph and Nathan would be doing a double shift, extra singing on an extra song that will, according to his opinion, on Shabbat Rosh Chodesh, you got an extra song because you got not only got the extra Korban Musaf for Shabbat, you had extra Musaf, but it's also Rosh Chodesh. This past Shabbat, you had a double. You would have to have an extra song and every song we said was broken into 3 parts, and you got 9 blasts for each song. That will take us to 39. And if it was Rosh Hashanah, pointed out you would get an extra more on the deal because of the Rosh Hashanah also has Rosh Chodesh, it's Rosh Hashanah, and if it came out on Shabbat, right? You have all those things. So now the Gemara is challenging this opinion that every Rosh Chodesh, every Musaf gets its own blows of shofar, of the trumpets. Meitivei. Rosh Chodesh shechal liot b'Shabbat. Rosh Chodesh came out on Shabbat. What do we do? What do we do regarding the song of the Leviim? What's the song to sing? Shir shel Rosh Chodesh, doche shir shel Shabbat. The shir of Rosh Chodesh would push off the shir of Shabbat. That means the way the Gemara understands the literal, if you read it, translate it literally, that the song of Rosh Chodesh supersedes the song of
Shabbat.
in honor of Rosh Chodesh. So in Derech Klal, the song of the Levium of Musaf on the Musaf of Shabbat, when the extra korbanot of Shabbat, the Levium, they would sing the parts from Parshas Hazinu. Parts from Parshas Hazinu. The Gemara in Rosh Hashanah discusses this, exactly what parts from Hazinu. For Parshas Hazinu, Hazinu Hashemayim V'Adaber is a song. Look how it's written, how the way it's in the Torah, how it's written in the Torah. It's very unique form, how it's written in the Torah, the song of Hazinu. And so parts from Parshas Hazinu are what Ralph and Nathan are going to be singing on the Shabbat, every Shabbat. However, when it came now, what Rosh Chodesh, the question is, what is the song that the Levium sing on Rosh Chodesh? So one of the Meiri, one of the Rishonim say that it's a song from Tehillim chapter 81, Pei Aleph. So you gotta get used to that song. It's the song Haninu lelakim uzein hariu lelakei Yaakov, where it talks about praising Elokim Uzeinu, praising Hashem, our strength. Hariu, that's also singing out lelakei Yaakov. That is according to the Meiri. The Tiferes Yisrael, it's not so clear. It's not so. What is the song that they're going to sing? That's clear to us. What is the song they sung on Rosh Chodesh? Because the Tiferes Yisrael says the Gemara does not mention clearly, does not mention the song of Rosh Chodesh that's sung in the Beit HaMikdash, and it's been forgotten as a result of our iniquities, our sins. We don't know what the song is that is sung by the Levium. We have to wait for Eliyahu Mashiach to tell us what is the song. However, the Meiri, he's under the opinion, it's chapter 81 is the song that's sung on Rosh Chodesh, every Rosh Chodesh. But now you have a question. It's Shabbat and it's Rosh Chodesh. It's the same day, right, Mr. Haber? Shabbat, like the Shabbat Rosh Chodesh. Which song takes precedence? Now, really, even though Shabbat is holier than Rosh Chodesh, yet nevertheless, it says, Shir Shel Shabbat, Shir Shel Rosh Chodesh, Vidocha Shel Shabbat. The song of Rosh Chodesh would push away, just like in Hanukkah. Hanukkah comes out on Shabbat, right? Every Shabbat there's a Haftorah for Shabbat, but on on Shabbat Hanukkah, the Haftorah of Hanukkah is what we read. Rani v'simchi bat Sion. The Haftorah of Hanukkah is the one that wins because of the Pasumei Nisa. We want to publicize the miracle of Hanukkah. So maybe there's an idea also that the publicizing the fact of the idea of something that's Rosh Chodesh, we're going to do something unique for Rosh Chodesh, and we're going to publicize today's Rosh Chodesh. Everybody knows today is Shabbat, but we're going to do something on Rosh Chodesh. We're going to give us the song of Rosh Chodesh is going to be the song that they're going to sing on Shabbat Rosh Chodesh. That's going to be the song by the Musaf that you're going to sing. Now we all know every day by the davening we say every day Hashir Shayalevim Omer Beis Hamikdash. Bayom HaRishon Hayom David Yisrael Hashem. We say every day the Shir Shel Yom. So it's a beautiful thing that in our davening that every day we are connecting with the song that the Levium will be singing in the Beit HaMikdash. People should be longing and looking forward to hearing that song of that's in the Beit HaMikdash. But the Gemara says, V'im idah, if it's true what Rav Acha said, that we blow on every musaf gets its own trumpet sounds, so then every musaf should get its own song. Because when do we blow the trumpets? At the intervals of the song. So if it's true that you get the what, that you get the blows, the trumpet sounds for every musaf, so in Shabbat Rosh Chodesh, we have a double musaf. We have two extra korbanot coming for Shabbat, extra korbanot for Rosh Chodesh. We should need to sing the song, an extra song. extra songs. So why are we pushing a song? Why are we pushing one song away? Why are we pushing the song of Shabbat away? Let's sing the song of Shabbat. That's what that is the song of Shabbat. Well, let's sing the song and let's sing Rosh Chodesh. Lema the Shabbat. Let us say the song of Shabbat. And the Lema Rosh Chodesh. Let us say the song of Rosh Chodesh. Omar Rav Safra. So Rav Safra says that the way you translated the text, you have to translate it differently. Instead of understanding the Braita when it says that the song of Rosh Chodesh, Docher, pushes away Shabbat, don't translate the word Docher to push it away, but rather Docher means you push it away means it comes first. Meaning you could say, I'm pushing this away, push that, that person, push him away. That means he has to, you come first, you're on line first. We shouldn't push anybody. But the idea is push him away doesn't mean he's not going to come, but it means he's going to be second. So maybe that's the translation. When it says that the song of Rosh Chodesh pushes away Shabbat, it doesn't mean, Mr. Haber, right, that it knocks out Shabbat song completely. Just pushes it away. That Shabbat has to be held up. You wait. Rosh Chodesh song comes first, then comes Shabbat. My docher the kadem, that it comes first. Hashem is called the kadmono shel alam. So it comes first. That's what it means, docher. So then the Gemara says, but that we have a big question on that. We have a very important rule. What is the rule called? Tadir v'she'ena tadir kodeh. If you have two mitzvot, and one mitzvah is more frequent than the other mitzvah, so then that mitzvah that's more frequent, and you need to perform both mitzvot. Meaning, if you're only going to perform one mitzvah, so then we not necessarily, then the Tosfos points out in Shabbat, not necessarily will you say tadir v'she'ena tadir. For instance, let's say Haftorah of Shabbat Chanukah. Shabbat Chanukah comes out on Rosh Chodesh, right? What is the more frequent? It comes more. Shabbat Rosh Chodesh most probably comes out more. Shabbat comes out on Rosh Chodesh more than the Chanukah. It's one time a year. It's Chanukah, and most probably Shabbat Rosh Chodesh comes out more than once a year. Nevertheless, what's the Haftorah that we're going to read is the Haftorah of Chanukah. Haftorah of Chanukah is going to be the winner, because if we're doing one Haftorah, if we're doing one, then it's not about, then all things are off. Meaning it's not about what's more frequent. We don't say it's about the merit of why one should come before the other, and then the merit of Chanukah, which is Parsume Nisa, the publish that trumps. Even though it's not as frequent, let's say, if you look at the Tosfot of Shabbat, I think that if I'm quoting, that's the idea of what I would call the Tosfot of Shabbat. Now, that by the Succah of Chanukah. But that's because if you're only doing one. But if you're doing both, you're saying you're going to get the song of Rosh Chodesh and you get the song of Shabbat. So what comes first? What comes Shabbat? Shabbat should come first. So how do you go ahead and do Rosh Chodesh song first? In practical, let's say, practically speaking, Shabbat Chanukah comes out on Rosh Chodesh. What's the order of the Sifrei Torah? We're going to have 3 Sifrei Torah. One in honor of Shabbat, one in honor of Rosh Chodesh, and one in honor of what? Of Chanukah. But how do we do it? Which Sefer Torah is number 2? Is the Sefer Torah Rosh Chodesh Sefer Torah number 2? Why is Sefer Torah Rosh Chodesh number 2? Because Rosh Chodesh is more Tadir, comes more than Chanukah. So therefore, if something comes is more frequent, that comes first. Just like Shabbat, every Shabbat, if maybe that could also be an example. We have the normal Shabbat reading, and then Shabbat Rosh Chodesh. Let's pair Shabbat. We were Shabbat and it was Rosh Chodesh. We have 2 Sifrei Torah. Which Torah reading do you read first? The regular weekly Shabbat Torah reading, or do you read the Rosh Chodesh? So Shabbat, since the regular Shabbat is more frequent, the Shabbat comes first, then there comes the Rosh Chodesh. That's right, that's the Rosh Chodesh reading is a second. This is a constant we find in Halacha. We wrote, and I think I saw just recently, to really double check, I think he quoted this, he said the Halacha, I think he said this is the reason. Let's say you make early Shabbat, which everybody, or let's say a lot of people making early Shabbat. So Friday night, you're davening at the synagogue, and you're davening Arvit when it's still light outside, right? You're davening Arvit, it's still light outside, whatever time you're davening. It's not dark. You come home, it's still daylight. So the mitzvah of Kriya Shema, you haven't yet fulfilled the biblical mitzvah of Shema, which is supposed to be done at night. So when it becomes dark, you have the mitzvah of Kriya Shema. So now let's say you're up to Birkat HaMazon. You're about to do Birkat HaMazon, you're up to Birkat HaMazon, and you did not say the Shema yet properly. So what should you say first? Should you say Birkat HaMazon first, and then followed by the Shema? Or should you say the Shema, and then the Birkat HaMazon? So he says, you say the Shema first, and then the Birkat HaMazon. Because you have two mitzvahs. What's the more frequent mitzvah? The Shema. Every night you have an obligation to say the Shema. Every night you don't have the obligation to say Birkat HaMazon. Only if you eat and you have bread and you have an obligation. So therefore you should say the Shema first and then the Birkat HaMazon. Yes, Nathan.
More often they say Shema, but you're talking about obligation versus opportunity.
Yes, so that's what I recall such a thing. But again, but applying the principle, and by the way, this comes into the play also. You gotta look into the halacha when it's Sfira to Omer. If you didn't count Sfira, and if you're about to do Birkat HaMazon, what do you do first? You do Birkat HaMazon first, Sfira. It comes into a lot of things. So that's the Gemara's question. We have this rule called Tadir V'Sheina Tadir, the more frequent and the less frequent. So shouldn't you have to go ahead and say the Shabbat song first? So Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan says that there's something that compelled, he understands that you could answer that there was something compelling the rabbis to push to the side the general principle of Tadir because for some special reason. What's the reason? Leida shehukva Rosh Chodesh bizmano. They wanted people to know that it was very clear to the court, and people should not question that it's Rosh Chodesh, because this will be a sign to the people about the clearness that it's Rosh Chodesh, was most people didn't see the new moon. And now, by the fact that they start off the first song that they're singing by the korbanot that are brought, by the extra korbanot, and they're singing the song of Rosh Chodesh. So by the fact that they see that, so therefore that would go ahead and they'll realize that there's no question that Rosh Chodesh has been established, and that would be, and therefore the importance of getting that sign out, the way Rashi explains, we're just talking, Dr. Rosen, about the song on Shabbat Rosh Chodesh. There's an opinion in the Gemara that says that they would sing, the Levium would sing in honor of Rosh Chodesh. They would have a special song. In addition to the regular weekday, the regular Shabbat song, they would have both a song for Rosh Chodesh. There's another opinion in the Gemara that says, no, you will not sing the Shabbat song on the Rosh Chodesh. And the Gemara says that according to the opinion that says you would sing the Rosh Chodesh and Shabbat song, the reason why the Rosh Chodesh song came first, that people should realize that it was obvious to the court that this Rosh Chodesh, that it's a proper Rosh Chodesh, and people will not start questioning, is it really Rosh Chodesh? Because most people did not see the new moon. So the Gemara says, you're telling me, you want to make known, you want people to realize that Rosh Chodesh was proclaimed and there's no question that today is Rosh Chodesh, but ha kerach ritavdina. We know there's something else that the rabbis did to give that lesson. So therefore, you can't tell me this is what they did to show it's Rosh Chodesh. Something else is that we're going to see the Gemara is going to say that they did something else to show the world that it's Rosh Chodesh. So you can't see, how could you suggest that? The Gemara is going to answer they had both things to show the world, because not everybody sees everything. Sometimes you might see this, you might not see that. There's multiple things to show that Rosh Chodesh was established. I want to wish everyone a beautiful day. We'll be back tomorrow, Bezat Hashem, and thank you all. Yes.